In this video, we are going to be using AI in order to clone Duolingo, the billion-dollar language learning application. If you've ever wanted to build any mobile application and launch it with one click onto the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, this is the video to focus on. If you're not technical, if you've never coded before in your life, that's completely okay. We're going to be harnessing the power of AI specifically through an application called Rork, which I've found is the best application at the moment to build native mobile applications. To have your own mobile app on an app store, use Rork. It is awesome. So we're going to be going and using Rork today to go and clone Duolingo. If you have a look, Duolingo just did $1.01 billion in 2025 in revenue. So it is an massive application, a massive revenue generating application, and we're going to use AI to clone it. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I want to take a step back and just learn a little bit about the application that we will be cloning, which is Duolingo. Many of you may have heard of this. Some of you may have used this, but Duolingo essentially, if we ask ChatGPT, is a language learning application and website. It teaches languages through short interactive lessons that feel like games. So essentially it gamifies learning a new language. You want to learn Japanese, you want to learn German, whatever language you want to learn, it will gamify that. What does that mean? It allows streaks. So you can go on streaks, days on end, where you can build out that you've been doing the lessons that are, that you have to be doing every single day for days on end. So your streak might be 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, and that kind of gamifies the aspect. There's also leaderboards where you can compete with your friends or people internationally, where you can rank on a leaderboard based on how well you're learning or how consistently you're learning that new language. And through that, they've been able to get to that point of $1 billion in revenue, which is completely awesome. And we're going to be cloning that today. So that's a little bit about Duolingo. Let's get into Rork and how we can go about starting this build. Build native mobile apps fast. This is the message you'll be greeted with when you sign up for Rork for the first time. Rork is our AI-powered application that we'll be using to clone Duolingo or build out any mobile application that you can think of. You want to come to rork.com. There'll be a link in the description below. You can just head over there, click on that, and you're good to go. Sign up is super simple. It's an email and password, and you're good to go. Now, once you've logged in, one of the things I want to be transparent around is pricing. There is a free tier, which allows a couple of messages per month free that you can try out Rork and see if it's for you. And then if we bring up the pricing plan, there is the next tier up is a junior plan, and then it goes up from there. So the junior plan is $20 a month. That's what I'm on, and I find that it's more than enough to build out multiple applications using AI. I can harness all the different AI models that it offers, and then I can deploy all these applications to the App Store really simply. So $20 a month, it's honestly a no-brainer in my opinion. And then if you're doing more enterprise level stuff and tons and tons of different applications, you can go up to $25, $50, and $100 a month. So now that pricing's out the way and you've logged into Rork, you'll be greeted with this page. It says, describe the mobile app you want to build. This is the text box that we're going to enter in the prompt of what we want to build. Very simply, natural language. So I speak English. That's my natural language. How I would think about what I want to build, I want to clone Duolingo. I would enter it into this text box. I could also add images. There's a little add image button. And then once I've added something in, you'll see I can actually send that through. So instead of just saying, I want to clone Duolingo, which would be fine, we want to give it a little bit more substance, right? And that comes down to prompt engineering, right? Writing a good prompt. So we're going to head over to ChatGPT and we're going to harness GPT-5, which, is available for free at the moment. So you can check that out. Just go to chatgpt.com. And in here, we're simply going to state what we want to build. And we're going to ask ChatGPT, which obviously has its own LLM in the background, which uses GPT-5 to build out a prompt for us that we can enter into Rork. So I want to clone rather Duolingo, which is the language learning application. And I'm going to be using Rork.com, which is a native application or mobile application builder. And I want a prompt that I can use to enter into Rork.com. So I don't want you to build the application or describe the application now. I want you to just give me a prompt that I can use, and I don't want the full application. I just want you to give me a general prompt that I can use to kind of start up that process. Cool. So pop that in. There we go. Let's enter that into GPT-5. Okay, cool. So it's going to think longer for a better answer. It's going and checking out Rork.com to see how best to fit what prompt would fit best. And it says, here's a clean starter prompt for Rork, and it gives us this prompt, right? So build a cross-platform React Native app called Lingo-lite. It's given us a new name, which is cool. We can go with that. A lightweight Duolingo clone for beginner Spanish learners. Okay, so we're going to go Spanish. Interesting. Focus on the core learning loop. Ship a working offline first prototype with mock data that I can later swap for an API. API, application programming interface, and it just allows us to connect to some sort of data source. So we don't have to use mock data, we can use real data. But we've got a target user, we've got key screens and navigation, we've got the exercise types, we've got core logic, we've got content and data, UX details, tech and structure, out of scope. So they've said real speech scoring, payments, and real social graph is out of scope for now. And then acceptance, right? So all we have to do now is literally go grab this prompt, copy that, head over to Rork and paste that directly in. Once that's done, all we're going to do is hit the enter button or the send button. And now Rork is taking that prompt, which is a lot more thorough than we would be able to just think of, right? So we've used GPT-5 to give us the prompt. We've added it to Rork, and you can see Rork is now thinking. So the user wants a Duolingo clone called Lingo-lite for Spanish learning, and now it's going through all of the items, the core features, the design inspiration, the technical architecture, the navigation structure, and it is starting to build out our application. So you can actually see we've got a preview tab here. So it's actually loading our preview as we speak right now, right? So it's getting closer to 100%, making changes, and it should give us something shortly. So this is where you can preview how your app looks. And that's in the preview tab. If you go to the code tab, you can actually see all the code that it's starting to write for us, right? AI is writing this. My hands are up. I'm not writing any of this code. So if you're a non-technical person, you've never coded before in your life, you don't have to know how to code. You don't even have to understand how code works. You have to have a conversation with the AI through this interface, right? So there's a little text box at the bottom where we can ask for changes. And then we can go to the preview tab and we can see how those changes affect our application. And this is interactive, right? So you can click and you can use this. On top of this, there's a little QR code to the right-hand side, which is test on your phone. So you can grab your phone, you can scan the QR code, and then it will pop up the application on your phone, which you can just interact with, right? So you can just play around with the app and see, oh, okay, cool. This needs to work better. That needs to work better. Note down your changes, come back to Rork and describe, this is the changes that I want. And then the AI will take that in, make those changes, and you can retest and you can go back and forth until you get to the application that you want. And then we can move on to deployment. So we're going to wait until Rork has built out the rest of our application, right? The first version of this Duolingo clone, which we've called Lingo-lite. And then we're going to look at how it looks, and we can go from there and start iterating. So while this loads up and while Rork's operating and the AI is building out the code, one of the things I want to just bring to your attention, and I think it's one of the things people don't focus on, is versioning. And what I mean by that is once we get this initial version, that'll be version 1, right? And then we'll make some changes, right? Because we're going to want to iterate and make it a little bit better. Then we're going to get version 2, and then we're going to make some more changes. Then we're going to get version 3 and so forth. And we don't want to get to a point where we're at version 12 and we think to ourselves, okay, wait, hold on, something's not working. I prefer something that was part of version 9. I want to go back to version 9. And you can't. So it's very important that we're saving the code updates. We're saving the versions. And the way we do that is through our integrations tab. So if you click on the integrations button, you'll see GitHub. And what you want to do is you want to connect to GitHub. Now, GitHub is a web-based repository for code. It's the simplest way to put it. And once you click on that, you will have to create a GitHub account. So it's email and password, super simple, and it's completely free. Once you've done that, and like I have, you'll be able to then click and say install and authorize, right? So you can install and authorize Rork to your GitHub, and we will just log in quickly. Now you've been directed. So you can see over here, it's connected to my GitHub, and now I can create the repository called Rork-Lingo-lite or whatever I want to call it. I'm happy with that name. And now it says your files are uploading. Please keep this window open while we finish. So now all of our code, all of the images, all the content of our application has been saved to GitHub. Now we've created that connection, right, to where we save that code. So now we can use Rork and it keeps saving to GitHub every time. So if we need to go back to a version and we click, oh, I want to go back to version 9, it'll pull that information from GitHub and all of it's there, and we can go back to that version. So super, super simple, but it is highly important that versioning is used. So I would say as soon as you start your application, head to integrations, connect to GitHub. It takes a couple of seconds, but believe me, it will help you a lot in the future. Alrighty, so this is the first iteration of our application. You can see here it says I speak, and it's asking us to choose the language. In this case, it would be English. Now you could obviously make some changes, have a selection of languages, but in this case, we'll say English, continue, and I want to learn Spanish, continue. Okay, cool. Then we've got our daily goal. How many minutes per day? 5, 10, 15. So let's go regular for 10. Start learning. Now we'd have to build this next screen, right? So if we go to the home screen, okay, cool. So we've actually got a full home screen. So you can see here, it looks like there's a little bit of like a roadmap. So we want to go through greetings, then common phrases, then numbers 1 to 10, and we can go down to basics, pronouns, and we can kind of build out more of those lessons. So we've got a couple of initial lessons, which we'll check out now. And then we have this bottom tier over here. So you can see, we can't see the wording, so we'd have to fix that. I believe this third one would be leaderboard. And then we'd have shop and then our profile. So we've got these sections. I think this might be practice. So we've got these different sections. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you can see there's a little note here, browser preview lacks native functions and looks different. Test on device for best results. So it would be best for you to use your phone, scan the QR code, it will load up, and then you can just see if maybe these wordings are, just because we're using this like desktop simulator, and on your phone it would actually look okay. And if it doesn't look great on your phone either, we can just make those changes, right? So this is the part of the development cycle that is fun, in my opinion, which is you're going to go through your iterations. You're going to find, I want to change these aspects and these aspects, and you'll then have a conversation by describing those changes, and then AI will go ahead and make those changes for you. So let's just quickly go to greetings as the first lesson. Just want to see how well this works. So we click there. Okay, so the first lesson, hello. Now listen, I'm not Spanish, so anyone watching this who is Spanish, please forgive me. I believe it would be hola, and let's check. Correct. Okay, continue. Adios would be goodbye. Okay, correct. And then translate good morning. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can just, so you don't have to type it, you just drag it. Good morning would be buenos dias. Buenos dias. Correct. Okay, and then match the greetings. Okay, so this is interesting. Hello. Hola. Okay, good night. Oof. Buenos noches. Okay, good afternoon. Buenos tardes, and then see you later. Hasta luego. Okay, so you can see here it's like 1-to-1, 1-to-1, 1-to-1. So that's not that great. You'd ideally want these to be a little bit more shuffled, because it just makes it super simple once you get to the end. So these are a couple of the changes we can make. Okay, I want to see if this audio actually plays. Let's just have a listen. Okay, doesn't play any audio. We would have to connect that. There's no mock data being played there, so we actually don't know. Let's go with that. Let's check. Okay, not quite right. So lesson complete, and then greetings is done. Now you can see it doesn't actually open up common phrases, so that is something that we'd also want to fix. So there's a couple of things we want to make changes to, as we would always, but we've got a bunch of stuff just off this single prompt, which I think is really good as a starting point, and we can start building out something very similar to Duolingo. Just another thing I wanted to touch on, which makes Rork really powerful, is it uses Expo. Now, Expo, for the non-technical people out there, the simplest way to explain this is Expo is pretty much like a toolkit for making mobile applications, and it uses React Native to do that. So it basically is like these ready-made pieces. So like push notifications, or the use of your camera, or the swipe, kind of when you swipe on a screen and it picks up all of those motions. So it uses that library of components when building out your application, which allows us to go from like an initial prompt to something like this already. And then with our changes, it just makes it super powerful. So something to keep in mind. If anyone ever asks, like, how does Rork actually operate, or how's it actually doing what it does, it's using AI, but together with libraries like Expo and React Native, which allows really, really powerful in providing products or comes from single prompts like it has with this. Right, so let's make this a little bit different, right? So what it's done is it's actually used the color scheme and the layout very similar to Duolingo. We want to make this a little bit unique to ourselves, right? So we're going to go to Dribbble.com. Now, I've spoken about Dribbble a ton on my channel, but if you don't know what it is, it's Dribbble with 3 Bs, just remember that. And it's a free website that is designs for user interface components. So landing pages, websites, e-commerce websites, logos, whatever the case is, and it's completely free. So what you can do is you can take this as inspiration, feed it into the AI on Rork, and it can make those changes. So I'll show you how simple this is. So we can go, what type of design are you interested in? And we're going to go and say language learning app, right? That's what you're trying to build. So they've got designs already for a language learning app. So there's all these different designs, right, that make it, you can have a look and you can go through these and you can see which one works best for you and what we want ours to kind of be similar to. So say, for example, we go and we click on this one here and we want it to be similar to this, right? So all we're going to do, right? You don't have to sign in, you don't have to create an account. So all you're going to do is take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this. You're going to come back to Rork and we're going to take that screenshot and we're going to drag it in. Now we've dragged it into Rork right over here. And now we're going to say something along the lines of, I want you to kind of do a redesign of this entire application because I don't want it to look exactly like Duolingo, but I want it to operate and I want it to have its own style. So I've attached a screenshot of the style that I'm after. I want you to kind of build this out. I want you to, look at the colors, look at the different fonts, the way things are kind of sized, the buttons used, and I want you to implement that. But I also want you to keep in mind that we want to keep the current animations and we want to keep the current motions of the application, right? So the swipe motions and any sort of use of Expo, so any Expo libraries or dependencies, make sure we keep those. And I want it, to ensure that it still operates very much and it still feels very much like a native React iOS application. Cool. And there's our prompt. I'm going to pop in there. So it's just literally saying, keep it very, change it, but don't lose that Expo library, all those components that we've added, and don't lose the React Native components, because if it does, then it starts becoming quite hard to use. So we've attached that and we've added that prompt and we're going to send that through. So it's going to send that through and then it's going to make those changes to our application and it's going to hopefully start looking similar to kind of the design we want, and we can start iterating even further from there. And now we're going on to version 2. I just want to take a quick little 30-second ad break and highlight a few things. If you're enjoying this content and you're getting some benefit out of it, I would highly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to the channel. It does amazing things. Over 95% of the people watching my content are not subscribed. So if you're getting some value, it would be highly appreciated. On top of that, I have a newsletter that's completely free. It is AI made simple for non-techies. If you're a non-technical person, you've never coded before in your life, I release usually about one newsletter a week, which kind of gives you a little bit more content around how to use AI in your day-to-day life, how to be more productive, how to use it for coding, how to build applications and so forth. So you can head to the link in the description and go sign up for AI The Boring, which is my newsletter. And finally, I've just launched a course on Udemy. It is actually one of the hot and new courses at the moment. We've had, I think, about 600 people sign up over the last 2 weeks, and this is vibe coding for everyone, right? So it's a beginner's course to vibe coding. It goes into a ton of different sections and components. We look at Lovable, Data Button, Rork. We look at a bunch of these applications, how best to use them, how to build practical applications. And we start from the beginning, and go right through to launching applications that you can share with your friends and family. So if you want to check that out, there'll also be a link in the description below. And there you go. There is our second version, completely done and dusted. We've got our modern design elements. So it's taken in that inspiration, right? If we go back to Dribbble, this is our inspiration and this is what we got, which is honestly spot on, right? So here, why do you want to learn Spanish? Best for training, school or exam, fine level. There's 7 activities per week, learning for 50 minutes a day. Next, cool. I want to go with the basic. Which level do you want to reach? Which is use common expressions for introductions, personal details and hobbies. Start learning. Again, that doesn't work. But if we go back to our home screen, it's completely revamped and it's actually worked on the bottom layer here. So we can actually see the names now and pretty much our application, but with that new design, which is exactly what we wanted to do. And we can go through each of these and you can see how it's adapted all of them to what we wanted. So that's for version 2. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to create accounts, right? We want people to be able to sign up and then log in. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, can you please implement a authentication component to the application? I want users to be able to sign up and then log in to the application. I want to be able to save these sign up details so that I can have multiple users or I can have users, sign up on my application. Cool. There you go. And we're going to send that through. Now, this is going to work on our authentication piece. Now, it's very important with any application. We have kind of 2 main components, which is authentication, which is sign up and logins, and then database, right? So database in order to store those. So what Rork does, it actually uses, it has its own setup database. So it uses kind of a cloud-based database, so it can store those details and it will set that up for you. So you don't have to create tables or any of that, which is pretty cool. So those are the 2 main things. And I would say the third thing, which is quite important, if you want to make some money off of these applications, obviously most people do, that's why they build software, is monetization, right? Being able to have like a free version, a free tier, and then a premium tier, and you charge a monthly recurring amount for that free tier, maybe $5, $10, whatever it is, and have that connection, and it will facilitate that so we can actually start charging people to use our application. Okay, so we've got our sign up page. It says Lingo Light. We've actually got a little logo that they've created for us, which is okay. It says welcome back, and then it allows you to sign in or sign up. So we don't have an account. You can actually see it says continue with Apple, continue with Google, which I don't think I enabled. We'd have to add those, but it's a nice little like addition. So let's go sign up. Now, okay, we have to work on those text box sizes, but let's go and say Jagger. Let's give it, I don't know, any sort of email address. And then let's set our password. Let's confirm that password and create account. So I actually created the account. Let's try and see if we just sign in. May just have not given us. Okay, cool. So it didn't give us a successfully created an account. So that's something we want to add, right? We want to say after we've created an account or after a user's created an account, we're not getting a successful account created or an error message. Can you please work on that? But we were able to sign in, and then we go through kind of the goal setting, which we covered before. So authentication is working, and there you have it. That's pretty much the video. The last thing I want to show you guys is how easy it is to go about publishing your application. Super simple. There's a big publish button at the top here. If you click on that, you can go and click publish to App Store or publish to Google Play Store. Note with the App Store, you would have to create a new submission. And then one thing to keep in mind, it is $99 a year in order to get your app onto the App Store. But you just go through this process of setting up an Apple developer account, putting your email and password, connect the Rork application and submit it via the Apple App Store, and then it will get reviewed. You may get some feedback and have to change up a couple of things, but you can do that within Rork, resubmit it, and then get it to a point where it gets accepted and you've got an app on the App Store. Google Play works really similar. To be honest, I haven't really deployed anything to Google Play just yet. All of it has been iOS, but that's as easy as it is to go about publishing your app to an App Store. And with, for example, the Duolingo clone, you can go about, like I've mentioned, iterating through and making those changes that you need in order to get to a point that you want. And it just works basically, it's a really basic formula of using natural language prompts with the power of AI in order to build out these different features and functionalities. That being said, that is the video. That's where I'll leave you guys. If this was beneficial, please do consider liking and subscribing. It does amazing things for the channel. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers.